Morning, welcome to Going to Ground. It's a beautiful Friday morning here on the Marlborough Downs. Commemorations and anniversaries are curious things, and memory is an elastic thing. It seems to me that changes according to how close we feel to the events of the past, and that's cultivated by all kinds of things, our access to media, our proximity to those who remember things, and also whether we want to remember it or not, and whether the remembrance is grievous to us or another kind of feeling, or a mixture of emotions, which the VE anniversary of course is for so many people. I remember 30-40 years ago that it was not something celebrated in great public style, and it was more in the 1990s that the VE commemorations really came to be grand public events, perhaps as we realised those who'd lived through it were beginning to die, and in some ways we feel closer to it now than we did when I was a teenager, and I was surrounded by people who'd lived through it, and it was just part of the course of events, the living memory, and for my dad, my father, and my mum, actually, something they lived through and were adults at the time. And I found amongst my dad's papers yesterday his letter of thanks from the Army Council, or the War Council, I suppose it would have been, thanking him for his service at a time of grave national emergency. He said, at the end of the emergency, the end of the war, you'll relinquish your commission, but retain the honorary rank of captain. Dad served in the Royal Engineers during the war. And sorting through some of his papers and reading some of the letters and remarks about needing leave home, and even a telegram that my brother sent me that was his homecoming telegram, being demobbed in early 1946, and it just says, arrived at depot, home today or tomorrow. It's deeply affecting, and 80 years just collapsed in a moment, and it felt real and human and present. And I've always felt that memory does have that kind of capacity to reach back more collectively, far further back, if we have contact with those whose living memory stretches back further. And it will sound daft, but because I had older parents when I was growing up, and my grandfather was born in 1876, it's 160 years ago, I've always felt that my memory stretched back much further than the things that I could actually remember, from the earliest things that I can remember from the early 1970s. But my kind of felt like my family memory, my collective memory, was much deeper and longer. I've always felt like the events of the 1940s were kind of in my own remembrance. And there's something fascinating about the way in which we belong to one another, and that the memories of those close to us become our own. We participate in them, and the commemoration, the remembrance, brings things alive in the present. There's something about that, but I shan't go on at length about it now. But there's something in the Christian tradition which deeply connects us with the living memory of very ancient times, hundreds, thousands of years past. And of course, with the announcement of the new Pope yesterday, that was in mind, that the succession of popes can be traced right back to St. Peter, the friend disciple of Jesus Christ. So stretches back in a traceable line 2,000 years. And so in the church there is this sort of corporate deep memory. And the word, the scholarly word often used for it is anamnesis. And it's the living memory of the deep past, so that the events of the time of Christ are not hidden from us, but accessible to us in that sense of a long human chain passed down from one to another. I love that. I think it's extraordinary, and I think the loss of deep memory for societies is really costly. Anyway, musings for the events of the last couple of days, and may God bless you in your remembrance and as you go to ground. See you soon.